Even the Warlock lead tells me that it's Zoo, and I'm kind of surprised that StrifeCro's leading Warrior, but I don't think it's a bad lead by any means, and I think he should be mulliganing for Fiery Winx.
Yeah, I think StrifeCro makes the same exact read as you are too. Fiery Warx is so important to chop down this early aggression from Zoo. The fact that he's willing to throw away Armor Smith and other cards that are valuable.
Yep.
He doesn't hit it. In fact, he's picked up 2 heavier cards that have usually no relevance in the matchup. Ragnaros only becomes a finisher if you've dominated the early game so much. And of course, we see that turn 1 Undertaker that he was fearing.
So I'm curious if there's a merit to Armor Smith here. I think he really wants to develop this Deathbite. Like when he has the coin, he does have the liberty of also having Deathbite available to him. Albeit not as powerful as it would be if he just, obviously had Fiery Winx here, but still not a bad play by any means. Iron Beak Owl I don't think is that bad either.
Yeah.
I think when your opponent doesn't play a Death Rattle minion here, aside from Harvest Golem, you don't really expect one.
Yeah, and you still have the opportunity to push out the Deathbite the following turn. Yep. If you silence the Knife Juggler, you can... because the Armor Smith seems like it'll get picked off really easily just by a simple juggle and a kill. And you need to protect Armor Smith a little bit better than that. Unless you're just trying to gain life as your only objective.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which isn't unreasonable. I think it's fine to just use it as a good, try to delay till I get an advantage point.
Not too shabby at all.
Yeah, he's sticking with that read too. Aside from Harvest Golem, I don't think he expects a Death Rattle. Lothar's able to pick one up though, and I think it's a pretty good one with Nerubian Egg. I don't see another play coming out here.
Yeah, I really don't like tapping. Especially because now you can protect your 3-2. I mean, this Knife Juggler, as much as you lost the ability, still is a 3-attack minion.
Yep.
A slightly worse version of Bloodfin Raptor, but it works.
Yep. I think I like that he at least took the time to think about whether or not he wanted to Soulfire that owl, but I like that he didn't go with that, of course. But this is something that I've favored a lot from players. People tend to play really fast because they practice so much, and in competition, I think it's one of those times where you should remind yourself to slow down. Like in practice, you need to be getting in as many games as you can. And, when you're exploring some unfamiliar lines, in practice, that obviously can be very valuable. But in a situation like this is especially where you need to explore your weird lines, because you need to pick up every single edge that you can. And so when you play too quickly, sometimes you take that away from yourself, and that's not what you need to be doing.
All right, well, he goes for Deathbite, which is something we've expected for the very beginning of the game. You just need a weapon to control what's on the board, and the nice thing is, if there is no Death Rattle to boost this Undertaker, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Is that an acidic Swamp Ooze?
Yes, it is.
Wow, that's really unconventional.
I mean, against the prevalence of warriors being brought to the tournament, as well as double Doomhammer Shaman. I mean,
yeah, that's his answer to Fiery Winx being such a problem, is being able to follow a turn 1 play with an acidic Swamp Ooze and get back that development you just lost. So imagine if that card would have come 1 card earlier, by the way. He would have had Haunted Creeper into acidic Swamp Ooze this turn. Just 1 card away.
Just being a little deeper in the deck. I suppose if he tapped instead of played Nerubian Egg then, right?
Yep. But if he didn't tap, remember he lost his Undertaker straight away.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how do you do this, StrifeCro? There's a couple ways you can play this turn. You can use removal. You can push out the Armor Smith.
I don't mind shield slamming here, but obviously when you pick up the shield block, you have some other considerations, because now you have a direct answer to Doomguard as well. You can just shield block armor up and shield slam it.
Okay.
StrifeCro actually made... maybe that's not a misplay. Maybe he intended it for it to be this way. But I think that could have been a misstep here from StrifeCro, something he's not used to. Because the Death Rattle on the weapon is going to trigger before the Death Rattle on the Haunted Creeper because of the order they entered play.
Right.
So that actually may have been a misstep.
Yeah.
That's a very rare misstep from StrifeCro if that's what it was. Which, judging by the board, I mean, I don't know why you'd want to leave 2 Haunted Creeper tokens up.
Yeah, you increase the power of the board.
Yep.
And you use your Death Spite charge just to increase the power of the board and do 1 damage to Undertaker, which is already could have been killed by Execute. So I think the more you evaluate the play, I think you're right. He thought that he could have killed the spiders with the whirlwind effect.
Yep. He was thinking the damage happens first and then the death rattles happen.
Or he's playing around the ooze.
Just masterminding the ooze.
What if? You know, we can sit here and theorize all we want, but maybe StrifeCro knew. He got intel that Lothar's running an ooze.
So this is another interesting decision. Is does he want to use Soulfire here, or does he want to just trigger his egg and kind of go from there? I mean, I like using the Dark Iron Dwarf for sure.
Yeah.
You like screen is frozen.
You like popping the egg right now too?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just run it in. You run in a token and you run in the egg. Get your 4/4. Get your second 4/4 from Dark Iron Dwarf, and then have a 1/1 left over.
That sounds pretty strong.
Yep.
9 power, and your opponent just used a weapon and a removal.
Do you play the Undertaker after that, or are you worried about Brawl at all?
That's what I was going to ask. Is if you go for the egg, then you're basically foregoing the strength of Nerubian Egg, which is post-removal, it still has good options for you. I mean, Undertaker also still can be pretty decent as long as you have Death Rattles to follow it up, so...
Yeah. So we're having some lag on StrifeCro's end, so we're going to be swapping over to Lothar's point of view for the rest of this match until we get the issue sorted out. I think it's the good old NA versus EU dynamic where sometimes the lag makes a bit of a difference, but we can see that's the play that Lothar made. He chose to hold Undertaker, probably fearful of Brawl, activated his egg, and now StrifeCro's had to use what looked like me like Shield Slam and Shield Block to deal with one of these 4/4s, and now facing down a lot of pressure on a Lothab and a Flame Imp. And boy, is he in trouble.
Yeah. We don't remember seeing a weapon to easily take out one of these creatures, and you're still taking a lot of damage on the backswing.
Yep. Just having to play minions, wow. That's one of those brutal feelings.
Oof. Well, Lothar now has ways to make himself safe against Brawl.
He's got 17 points of damage, so if he life taps into something like a Doomguard or a Power Overwhelming, potentially get lethal this turn.
Sure. Does Defender of Argus also end it?
Well, Soulfire might.
Soulfire.
I think you lead with Soulfire here to figure out what's going on.
So.
He spots it too. You can see he's thinking about it. This yields a 75% win rate this turn. Oh, and he's going to go for it.
Oh!
The other Soulfire, a reverse huge draw on Lothar's end. And you said it before the match. He feels like he's unlucky. And boy, are we seeing that here.
But, you know, when you go against the laws of Hearthstone, this is what you get. Soulfire always discards a second Soulfire.
Or Jiraxxus. Again, the world first, we saw it earlier. Jiraxxus wasn't discarded. How do you feel about developing your board here? Do you do anything?
I mean, you have such good reload post-Brawl. With Undertaker, Nerubian Egg, and of course, Ooze is just a reactive based off your opponent's weapons.
I like not doing anything here. I think he's totally fine with this board position. If he plays something like Nerubian Egg as an opponent brawls, like let's say the egg won the brawl.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
You don't want to use the egg without using your Undertaker.
The egg
then you're
wins
filling
the
it
brawl.
more.
With its innocuous 0/2 body. Oh boy.
Well, nobody realizes it's there, so they leave it alone, so they just fight each other.
Oh, that's true. He's this lone survivor based off of neutrality, I suppose. Switzerland.
Swiss egg. And now, again, StrifeCro really on the back foot here. He's facing down a ton of damage. I don't think weapon's good enough here.
No, because you're still taking damage back, and then a weapon usually indicates you're just gonna armor up afterwards. Does he have another shield save?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, this looks to me like it's just kind of 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, he isn't gonna die. Well, unless
he is gonna die.
Point damage. So that's gonna do it. He's gonna double check, triple check, quadruple check his math. No reason not to. But that abusive sergeant, he's gonna make that Flame Imp get in there and fight. Game one's gonna be going over to Lothar. Even after that unfortunate Soulfire discard, he was just so far ahead. Didn't even have to show that he had Ooze.
That's really useful.
Wow. Yeah, it potentially could be. I think we saw a rogue in StrifeCro's lineup here.
That's right. We had
Yep.
rogue, we had shaman, and we had
to it, man, and just kind of go for it and go from there. But he's gonna swap over to druid, so we're gonna get a glimpse of this and see exactly what he's playing. StrifeCro, meanwhile, he's gonna go with rogue. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad switch. I think that with the way that rogue decks are built currently, that they're gonna handle Zoo pretty well. But against these, what I would call like these mid-game scaling druids with Spectral Knight, obviously a really big presence against them. 2 Chillwind Yetis in hand. It can get the job done. Just Force Nature Savage Wars just ends the game so easily in a lot of these situations. If you can put enough early pressure on and just go from there, you're fine.
Sure. If he feels confident, it's just I've been in so many situations as the druid player where you feel helpless because your curve isn't that great.
Right.
Rogue gets the early passive start that they want, and then doesn't really matter what you drop. They answer it immediately, and then they just go to town.
Yeah. More influence, by the way, on these weapon classes. He's actually playing druid with a copy of Harrison Jones.
Huh.
Very directed at weapon classes. I think this is a really good call from Lothar, honestly.
Oh, it is a ramp druid. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I was telling you, I've never seen Lothar play ramp druid, as he, goes for a kiss on Valyria. I like it. Mistletoe underneath her. Maybe that's all the more reason to bring a ramp druid, right? To surprise your opponent, to throw him off kilter. Like, what's going on here? I don't know even. I'm not sure. Is he playing ramp druid? Is he?
Well, ramp druid is one of those decks that can kind of struggle against against weapon classes, things like shaman, things like warrior. And if you can shore that up with a staple like Harrison Jones, I mean that can very easily turn the matchup around when someone's relying on a weapon to get a little bit of work done, and instead you're developing a 5/4 and drawing a card from it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be a while before we see cards like Ancient of War be dropped down unless Innervate comes into hand. But the good thing for Lothar is he had the coin. If he didn't have the coin, his curve would have been awkward as hell to play through for the remainder of this game. Really can't imagine doing anything else but coin Yeti.
Look at his curve outside of that, too. He's got another Yeti, and then either Druid or Harrison, and then Sylvanas if he wants, and then Ancient of War. This is going to be a lot of damage coming through.
Yep.
I think a lot of this game is going to hinge on whether or not StrifeCro can actually draw Gadget's in or not. We're going to be sticking from Lothar's perspective again. StrifeCro still having a bit of issues with his stream, so we'll be sticking for one perspective for now. That's probably one of the strongest responses you can have to a Chillwind Yeti, too.
He does run combo. Savage Word comes in hand. I feel like you have to. Some druids feel like it's expendable, but I like the threat of combo being able to always end the game.
Right. I think it's a good measure. I don't necessarily disagree with this Wrath here, but Chillwind Yeti is certainly a very different and reasonable line. It's going to die a lot because your opponent's already got a 3 poison or a 3-point dagger active, and they also have SI7 agent on the board, so he's playing a little bit more conservatively here when he chooses to Wrath, but not necessarily a bad play. Instead of creating tension on the board and then trying to maintain initiative that way, he's going to just hope that his opponent doesn't have anything significant this turn. Like, I think Azure Drake or Lothar was probably one of the worst things that he could see, and that's exactly what he sees here.
Wherever he pops down gets answered immediately. Yep. Harrison Jones to draw a card, take off that deadly poison dagger. He gets second Ancient of War. Oof.
Oh, we actually get a glimpse of StrifeCro's hand. Look at this hand.
He is playing the Teray Miracle Rogue, where he's playing preparation, or he's playing sprint, so you can use preparation with it in case you don't get Gadget's hand. I would not be surprised whatsoever to see Alex Strasza come into the next few cards as well.
Here's the question: is if you attack this Harrison Jones, if you attack his face, and I think you go for face here. With a hand like this, once you picked up Leroy and you have Shadow Step, I think you just want to make a big push for damage.
Yeah, I don't think you're too afraid of dying in the next turn or so, right? There's just no way your opponent can kill you.
Well, there definitely is a threat of it. Like, next turn, your opponent definitely can't kill you, but say they have Innervate in the combo on turn 7. I mean, that can easily kill you. So he's looking for some answers here. It would not surprise me to see Sap, but I think when you see Harrison Jones, that it's a pretty safe save.
Sap the Harrison Jones.
It's just trying to get pressure off the board. I mean, you pick up 2 extra cards and you pull 5 points of damage from your opponent's board.
Yep. Not to mention, if your opponent drops Lothar, you denies your draws. So
Yep.
you go for it while you can. Fan of Knives to continue the draws.
I think he's going to sap.
Eventually next turn.
Yep. This is something that StrifeCro does over and over again, by the way, is he really values restricting his opponent's decisions and at the same time dealing as much damage as he can. This is a lot of players focus on like one or the other, like dealing as much damage as they can or restricting their opponent's options. And StrifeCro, he finds the right balance between these two. That's what makes him one of the greats in this game. Healing Touch comes in hand. These are two very different decks than we're used to seeing.
Yeah, healing. This is old school ramp druid, right? You use Healing Touch as a way to bounce back into the late stages of the game against aggro, and not to mention its versatility to heal up Ancient of War in case it goes through a lot of battles, so that way you can firmly establish your board presence. Healing Touch, though, we haven't seen in a long time. All right, StrifeCro picks up a Deadly Poison, so he has a cheap way to get draws while having ways to effectively start attacking some damage in.
He looked at Shadow Step like right at the start of the turn. I'm curious if he intends to Shadow Step this Auctioneer and trade away his Lothar.
Maybe even Shadow Step
after he deals 4 damage, of course. You could Shadow Step Lothar as well, but then the Sylvanas is such a tremendous threat. It just kills your Lothar and takes your Auctioneer.
That's true, but you still can draw cards. It's like the same effect, too. Would you rather keep the Auctioneer or would you rather keep Lothar?
I like just going straight for the dome, exactly what StrifeCro's doing. Put your opponent down to 12.
Right,
have a pretty major board presence.
If he plays Harrison and steals a card, assuming he doesn't have Wrath to finish off things, you still have enough damage to push through.
He wants his opponent to play Harrison Jones here.
That's right.
That's part of the purpose of this play is to try to bait your opponent into playing Harrison Jones. Really trying to exploit his opponent. Another element that StrifeCro will mix into his game too. He wants to try to exploit players and get them to make these plays like this to have them fall behind. I don't think Lothar's going to fall for it though. His hand's too stacked, I think, to be willing to risk more cards for this.
Man, if you can guarantee to steal that Auctioneer. So say he steals the Auctioneer as his best play, right? And then from there, what do you do? Do you taunt up? Do you Healing Touch and Yeti? What?
It's pretty tough. I mean, Healing Touch is going to save you 8 points of health very often when you make that play. He looks to me like he's looking at charging that Druid of the Claw and then making sure he can steal that Auctioneer, but I don't know if that's his best play. We know it'd be lethal at this point, but I don't. Is he accounting for Leroy Shadow Step at this point?
That's true.
It's something we've seen it phased out of so many Miracle Rogue decks at this point. It may not be on his radar.
And StrifeCro has the 8 mana necessary to do that Shadow Step move next turn. All right, what's it gonna take? He needs to take this Auctioneer.
Oof. Wow, he gets it.
I think it is important because you don't know if he has the ability to kill you, but if that whiffed, how is your way to kill off the Auctioneer otherwise? You had the Druid the Claw charge.
Yep.
So that was a big moment for Lothar to stay alive right now.
Yep. Wow. A really big swing. StrifeCro 2 points off lethal right now. He has 18 damage available. Healing Touch making a really big difference so far. Looks like he's reaching for Fan of Knives first. I can't blame him.
Yeah, there's no way he can Fan of Knives into lethal because he gives up the mana necessary.
Yep.
Sap another creature. Oh, man. Now, also, Healing Touch has to reveal this is Ramp Druid, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think at this point it's been, the jig is up. StrifeCro might go for a clear here, though, and rely on Edwin to try to get some work done. I don't think it's a bad play. Yeah, but I think it's exactly what he's going to do. There's a chance that this SI7 agent just goes face, though. I'm not going to discount that, but I think it's too valuable to try to protect.
Yep. You have Sap next turn to push for damage. You even have ways to reload with Sprint. Man, Sprint's pretty good.
Yeah, Lothar's hand's really big right now, but he's got to be able to live. That's the important part, is figuring out exactly how he lives through this.
He needs a couple summoning portals from the Warlock class. Man, this is just so expensive. 12. 26, 37,
745 mana. Of worth of
52
cards in his
mana
hand.
to push out his creatures. Even if Lothar had 6 turns uncontested, he couldn't even drop all these minions.
Lothar was really thinking about playing around Sap right here, by the way. He's looking at charging Druid of the Claw and using Savage War. Wow, that's actually what he's going to do, too. This is a pretty heads-up play, I think, is because with the 6/6 on the board, something like Sap and Cold Blood can really put you in bad shape. And this is a very aggressive play to be making, but I think it's his best defensive play, to be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
And now, StrifeCro's in kind of a position where it's like, he knows he's going to be facing down taunt minions at some point. He has to know this is Ramp Druid. But this play is a little bit deceptive here from Lothar because it kind of looks like he just doesn't have any taunts either. So that may be the way that StrifeCro interprets this. And if a couple taunts get down and they stick to the board, that Leroy Jenkins damage is never going to happen.
Yep, especially if you, just like you said, you don't have ways to get past the taunts with the saps being used. You have to use spell damage to burst through. And the double Shadow Steps would be sitting useless otherwise. There's no board presence for StrifeCro whatsoever. But here is one thing that can help, though. If StrifeCro is running Alexstrasza, that is a big buy to fight through. If Lothar doesn't have an easy way to answer and he just has to fight minion for minion,
right,
that also restricts Lothar's ability to stay out of damage range. Because normally if you just taunt up and then you heal up to the 20s, like high 20s with the Ancient of Lore heal and you armor up, there's nothing Miracle Road can do. Because you know that he's running more burst intensive after you see like a lot of cards like Shadow Step being used. But at this point, like how do you even put together a game plan if you're StrifeCro if you don't have the Alexstrasza?
Yeah, I think it's tough. And now Lothar is faced with another decision of how he wants to do this. Because obviously a 5/10 is going to draw a lot of heat. Second Sap, very much on your radar for in your opponent's range. Cenarius makes a lot of sense. StrifeCro wisely held this Blood Mage Thalnos. This would have been a very different game if he did not hold this Blood Mage.
Oof. He's got the spell power Phantom Knives. Do you backstab before it to get damage?
I think you do
Cenarius?
because I think you're going to eviscerate this this Cenarius. I mean, I don't want to sap it really. But sapping it's really not that bad though. Like if you like play. The thing that's bad about it is you're giving your opponent so much leverage when you do it that way. So he's going to choose to get in 6 points of damage and have a cheaper Leroy in his hand.
Yeah, it makes sense because you can't go for the double Shadow Step Leroy shenanigans anymore while fitting in other things.
Yep, I like this play a lot. There's another Eviscerate, so this Eviscerate is going to be aimed at the face. For sure. He wants to sap Cenarius because he wants Cenarius to come down again next turn, but I don't think he should. I think he should just... Like, he's worried about combo, of course, but I would like to see him not sap this.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I mean, Healing Touch still can be a fast Druid where he just dies to combo, so he's hedging his bets.
Still got plenty of damage, though. I mean, he's got 8 in his hand, 9 in his hand. Because I'm assuming this Blood Mage is going to die. Like, unless Lothar plays Cenarius again, which he just absolutely should not be doing in this position, I don't think.
Nope. He just saw second sap.
Yeah.
In fact, I think StrifeCro with this move doesn't anticipate his opponent necessarily having big taunters like Sunwalkers and Ancient of Lore.
That could be the case, but I think at the same time, he wants his opponent to play Cenarius again. I think it's another one of those spots where he's trying to give his opponent a chance to make a mistake. And if Lothar is keen enough this game, it's just not going to work.
There's just no need to play Cenarius again with how much you have. You've seen Leroy, so you know exactly what type of deck this is, too.
Yep. He's got so much information that he can work with.
So then what's the best course of action? Which taunt do you like? How do you even follow it up? Sunwalker gives you the availability of silencing this Thalnos. You also can play
I think I still just want to kill
Ancient
it.
of War for flat-out health stats.
I think I still just want to kill it, because it's just going to kill your shield if you silence it. Yeah, I like just the damage.
True that.
Auctioneer pickup, though. Yeah, another tough turn. You know, something he may be looking at this turn is just trying to push for as much damage as he can. Like, he may not be able to play around something like a Savage Roar at this point. So he may just, like, backstab, play Leroy, eviscerate Blade Flurry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got enough mana to do that, too. So he'd clear out the Sunwalker and get through 6 points of damage. But his opponent would have tokens on the board. I don't think it's a very good course of action. This is a tough turn. Like, do you just try to draw a bunch of cards and find... I don't even know how much direct damage you have left. Like, I don't think he's running Sinister Strike.
I don't think so. When you're running this deck, you have Shadow Steps already in it, so that's your form of damage. Blade Flurry, Eviscerate. So Blade Flurry before the Leroy implies you're going to use that 6 mana otherwise to go for the kill. Alright.
No, he's just going to develop this, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's about to get stuck. There was no way to, like, really effectively use Leroy this turn. You know, another play he could have made is he could have played the Leroy first and done that combination and then Shadow Stepped it back to his hand, so his opponent would be at 6, but his opponent would have the 2/3. It actually might have been a really good play. So if he had played Leroy and then basically gone the same line he did, so he daggers up, attacks the Sunwalker, uses Blade Flurry, eviscerates that guy, 6 to the face, Shadow Steps Leroy back to his hand. His opponent's at 6 and he's got Leroy with an Eviscerate.
I think he's wondering if there's another opportunity to play Shadow, like Sunwalker number 2, and then he can push through. But Ancient of War feels like it's a shutdown. Is it though? Ancient of War. I think Ancient of War you just can't get past, right? There's just no way as a Miracle Rogue player.
You could draw Assassinate.
You could draw Assassinate. I mean, you also could draw Vanish into Leroy. Prep Vanish,
yes!
Leroy finish.
Got him.
Wow.
That's the dream, right?
That's enough mana, too, because Preparation will make Vanish cost 3, and then Leroy combo 6 right now. Oh, man. Good times. You know, the fact that Leroy is already Shadow Stepped means that it just costs the same exact amount pre-nerf. It is Ancient of Lore, by the way. That's his best course of action by a mile. And how does StrifeCro respond? How many cards does even StrifeCro have?
That's a good question. I'm curious how many cards he actually has left in his deck. I haven't been counting.
He's almost out of cards.
Cards. He's got 2.
There's
There's
that comes into hand.
A little bit too late. How much damage does he have to push to? 2, 6. He has 9 points of damage on the Ancient here. And then he can use his dagger for another 1 point of damage, but then he's 1 damage off lethal.
Oh my god, you're right. He is 1 damage off lethal.
You know what's funny is I think if he would have used Leroy last turn, he wouldn't have been able to push through this Ancient of War. And the extra cards.
Or you would.
He wouldn't, because he wouldn't have the 3/3 on the board.
Right.
So you know, a lot of difference being made there too. I think this is probably his best chance to win. Was trying to get some value out of this 3/3. But as it stands, I think he's just gonna get stuck. So right now it looks like he's looking at Leroy and Eviscerate to clear this. He's gonna find himself in another tough spot. All the damage getting used right now. No Eviscerates left. Only 2 cards left.
So you play Gadget Stand just as a 4/4?
That's a tough call. You might have to.
I feel like you need any sort of damage outside of what's just existing, and Gadget Stand might be able to attack into the body.
Yeah, he didn't play the Gadget Stand first, by the way, is because he's only got 2 cards left in his deck, so he doesn't want to draw those. But I think that's game. It looks like 9 points of damage here from Lothar. Force of Nature power. And that's going to do it, even with 763 million mana worth of cards in his hand. He doesn't need them. Just a couple of taunts is enough. Game 2 is going to be going over to Lothar. A second utilization of swapping classes and going from there. This Ramp Druid deck, if Shaman would have gotten queued up instead, this would have been way different. But I think that Lothar made a really good read here. It's pretty suicidal, I think, for StrifeCro to queue up Shaman in a lot of those scenarios. 3, though. Lothar, I'm pretty sure he changed again. Yep. Looks like he's changing
going
to
Priest. It's just the best way to corner the market.
Yep. We've got StrifeCro's point of view back, by the way. So this last game, where we are going to be seeing the entire
That
thing
is
as well.
bad news for StrifeCro. Just look at the hand of Lothar. He's got the immediate sweep. So, like, anything you do early game, he's got your number.
Yep. So I thought about, I said that I thought Lothar's lineup was going to be pretty similarly built to his Zoo deck, but he's actually gone really diversified. He's even got Shadow Word Pain in his deck. So this is a really heavy control priest that's focusing on attacking decks in the early game and really trying to scale into his mid game and take advantage of the fact that he's going to have a superior late game against a lot of decks. And Shaman, of course, one of these matchups where is at a pretty big disadvantage. And this is something we've seen from StrifeCro in the past. When he's at these big disadvantages, he wants cards like Azure Drake to really try to pull a lot of weight. He kept one in his opening hand. He drew a second one, and I don't think he's even disappointed with that. I think it's a pretty big pickup from him.
It is, but, you know, I guess he's still not happy that this matchup is right here. Because, look, another card that introduces heavy value for the priest, the Cabal Shadow Priest, guaranteed to get something out of the Shaman. Yeah. This is going to be a big uphill climb for StrifeCro.
I think he's starting out well, though. Harrison Jones, of course, always a threat in this matchup if StrifeCro's got Doomhammer. But this Haunted Creeper already going to be getting some value straight away. I'd like to see him. I think I'd like to see him use Rockbiter here instead, too.
I think so.
Yeah, because I think the Azure Strike with the Lightning Bolt is a pretty big turn that you want to focus on. And he also I think he wants to coin one out next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So going to play over his options here, but I'd like to see Rockbiter instead of Lightning Bolt because of that. Despite having the spell power.
Well, suppose you roll the totem first then, right? Hex!
Wow, he's actually
boy.
hexed this.
Wow. That's so StrifeCro. Oh my god. If I was going to start a children's cartoon series based off Hearthstone, I'm going to call it That's So StrifeCro. I'll be featuring StrifeCro making plays just like what we saw.
This play is... I really don't know what this is telltale of. I mean, obviously he wants to save his damage. He values Doomhammer and Rockbiter dealing a ton of damage in this matchup to really get the job done. So I would be astonished at this point if he didn't have Doomhammer in his deck. But with that Harrison Jones in hand, I'm not sure he's going to be able to get all the damage he wants through.
Well, he's in a similar position as he was the last turn. Thankfully, there's no Circle of Healing on this Injured Blade Master, but we, of course, know that because Lothar's saving Circle of Healing with Akanai Soul Priest.
Yeah.
Man, he's really trying to get mileage out of this Haunted Creeper before the Cabal Shadow Priest comes down, too.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was so weird he chose not to use Rockbiter there and Totem Up. Instead, he went for this Hex play, which the Hex play is really strange. And I understand why Lothar saved the Circle of Healing, but his opponent did just use a Hex, so there is a lot to think about when your opponent just hexed and you had access to that 4/7. That's a lot of damage that you can potentially do with just that Injured Blade Master. But when your opponent burns a Hex on a 3/4, are you kind of thinking that like maybe he has 2 in his hand and he has 1 to expend?
Sure.
And that's why he didn't do it. I think it's a realistic possibility. I would be astonished if Cabal Shadow Priest didn't happen this turn. There's the second Hex too.
Ooh, Hex. Do you feel confident enough to drop Manatide Totem to start climbing back away, or do you want to overload the board to potentially get swept by Akanai Soul Priest and Circle of Healing?
I think that's a risk you have to take. And the fact that you didn't see a Circle of Healing with the Injured Blade Master, I think can kind of sometimes give you the impression your opponent maybe doesn't have Circle of Healing. So something like Feral Spirit Manatide Totem would not surprise me whatsoever. I think it's actually a really good play. It just happens to be that Lothar has the right answer for that.
And consequently, great patience shown by Lothar to not overcommit his resources like that. That is so important as a control priest to make sure you save your combos correctly, as much as you're tempted to go one way with the Injured Blade Master. Because if you didn't have Hex, that's another way you can run away with the game. You just kill anything else that Shaman does, and then this 4/7 Injured Blade Master just never does.
Lothar very aware of the fact that this is a favorable matchup for him and that he's able to take his time as a result.
Hold on, is he using Lightning Storm?
It looks to me like it's exactly what he's doing.
Wow. That is a great call, but again, another hard read that is not easy to spot. I mean, we're talking about stuff that's hard to call even with perfect information, and StrifeCro's making the correct read without it.
Yeah.
Well done.
This play is really it's a lot less aggressive than Feral Spirit Manside Totem would have been. And I think that part of his reasoning behind that is that, like, Holy Nova is not a very good turn here. It is kind of forcing your opponent to do something that maybe they're a little bit uncomfortable doing. Like, you're still facing down a 4-3 Azure Drake. The Taunt Totem is taking a lot of pressure off of StrifeCro. The ability for his opponent to try to just create tension on the board and go from there.
Sure.
I think he's just perfectly content. He'd be perfectly content with this. With this Injured Blade Master dying to the board, but Lava Burst may change that plan again.
So Lava Burst does confirm that it is a burst-heavy Shaman, which leans towards the fact that it might be double Doomhammer. Which is, again, hilarious that it's catching on. 2 Doomhammers. Admiral, you made fun of me one time for keeping Doomhammer in my opening hand. Remember that?
Oh, I do remember.
Oh boy, when Admirable first came to Fight Night, there was a video that I made that I kept Doomhammer in my opening hand. It doesn't even really matter, I was just talking to the camera. Yeah. And Admirable went on for like an hour making fun of me.
It was very unapparent too, like you saw the commercial, he just gets up and walks away from the computer, but Doomhammer is like stuck in his hand.
Yeah.
Like, he just keep Doomhammer in his opening hand, rewind that video.
Oh man.
Oh, we need to find that commercial. I want to dig that up and
absolutely
ad-lib that. That was a great moment. First appearance there. I like the Hex here, by the way. Lava Burst is going to overload you, and this is a card you want to actually push for damage. But it has the flexibility of also, pulling back and hitting a minion if you need to. So this is like, it's like retroactive damage. It's like he's aware that he has this damage available to him, but if he needs to invest it into a minion instead, he's got that. So Circle of Healing here, I think, easily the best course of action. And you can actually see Lothar, again, very aware that he has a favorable matchup in this. He chose to heal himself instead of dealing 2 points of damage. He knows if this game goes long that he has got a distinct advantage, especially now he's seen both Hexes gone, and he's got Ysera and Mind Control in his hand. Like, there's not much of a threat, I feel like, that StrifeCro is going to be able to apply here kind of across the board. So it's like, where do you go from now? StrifeCro's got this. It's, again, he's in a spot where he's got so many tough decisions to make. And how is his read going to go? I like the Azure Drake here still. Yeah, but he wants to find a turn where this Manatide Totem is just going to live forever. Like, that's his goal this game. So, like, obviously, if he gets Cabal Shadow Priested, yeah, obviously if he gets like Cabal Shadow Priested, he's in pretty bad shape. And like, I think he's even trying to avoid like just being able to kill it with like Holy Nova and Hero Power, or Holy Smite and Holy Power and Hero Power, or something like that.
Imagine second Circle of Healing Ysera this turn.
Whew. Well, for the man who has everything, it's pretty good. He's just going to slam Ysera instead. I can't say I disagree. Your opponent's already used 2 Hexes, so outside of an Earth Shock, which I think you would have seen on the 3-1. So this is both these players making some fantastic reads this game.
Okay, he gets the Emerald Drake. Not the best, but not the worst. StrifeCro picks up Gnomish Inventor. Can he remove this Ysera this turn? 6 damage. Yeah, he can.
He can't.
Trade
does he want
everything.
To? Yeah, that's the thing, is he's trading so much to do it. And now Priest is scaled. They're at a very comfortable life total. Like, this is maybe one of those turns where your best course of action is like a weird all-in push where you try to just overwhelm your opponent.
Sure.
And it's not going to succeed very often, but is he going to be able to continue to fight a card advantage battle?
I don't know. These are all questions that I don't want to answer if I'm StrifeCro.
Yep. I don't like defendering up this. I guess he is going to kill it.
Oh, so this is just. So he keeps up his Drake alive a little bit longer?
Yep. If he's going to do it this way, it's fine. But if he was going to go for face, this would have been really risky, because you risk the opportunity of your opponent getting a Shadow Word Death on a 5/5 Drake, and that's not what you want in this matchup. There's not very many targets for Shadow Word Death outside of Fire Elemental, so something I think you want to try to typically avoid.
All right, Lothar going to counter.
Look at this play.
Emerald Drake. Okay. Wasn't sure if I was expecting that versus just clearing and playing Harrison Jones, or even Thought Stealing, but that was interesting.
Again, it's like he's in a position where it feels like to me that he's just fine with the board trading down. And he's like, as long as I continue to be at a healthy life total, I can 1-for-1 you and win the game.
True.
So no Lightning Storm's going to happen this turn.
I mean, he's saving his resources to match up correctly with what he wants, right? Not going to use Shadow Word Death on a 5-1. Instead, use it on the Fire Elemental the way he needs to.
Hurts to run Lothar into that, though.
Well, I assume he's going to kill Lothar here.
Yep.
Or even kill off the Emerald Drake, but I think Lothar makes much more sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely would be killing the Lothar here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's draw a really important one.
If he had Holy Nova?
Yeah, this is going to be the turn, I think, where he starts to take control of the game. Picks up Earthshock even.
Well, look at that. One mana
that
removal,
is a major turn in this game. This is where Lothar has basically turned the corner. It is going to be close to impossible, I think, for him to lose the game at this point. He's got card advantage. He's got board advantage. He's about to have life advantage. He's got just about every advantage you can think of.
He's got it all. He's got it all, and he ain't bad at Hearthstone either. StrifeCro picks up Earthshock of his own, but that doesn't do anything. He needs to develop something else.
Yeah, it's got to be one
Use
of those.
Gnomish Inventor.
There's a Doomhammer. That's too. I think it's too late, though.
I've got bad news for him as well. There's Harrison Jones waiting on the other end. And he's eager. You see that man's eyes? He's ready to go. Harrison Jones drawing 6 cards if this Doomhammer comes out.
It's not going to happen this turn, but yeah, Manatide Totem just going to soak up hopefully soak up one of these attacks and kind of go from there. Lothar, though, he's got a lot of damage to be able to push. Alec here picked up. But this Shadow Word Pain is in his hand. He's got answers to everything.
Shadow Word Pain on Alec here. Wow.
Look at Lothar is continuing to play so defensively in this game. I can't blame him.
All right. Yep.
I would, however, like to see him use Rock Biter on that Manatide Totem. Here, it's just like he's so far ahead at this point that he's like just kind of going through the motions. Like I don't even think he cares about Alec here that much. He's like, oh, I'll just mind control it.
Man, mind control is still 8 mana. You can mind control Rock Biter.
Yep. So StrifeCro looks like he can clear this turn, or sort of clear. But even I don't know if that's even the best chance he's got to win. Again, just looking really rough. That Doomhammer's not gonna. It's gonna get reverse value by a significant margin. Anything he plays.
Is there any way to fatigue? Is there any way to fatigue your opponent out by letting him Doomhammer?
When they're priest, it's pretty tough, especially if you're in the shaman position. But because eventually he's just gonna be able to kill you. Like you don't have ways to heal, and he does. So when you run out of cards, just one minion sticks to the board and deals a ton of damage. Yeah, I think this is basically his only play.
Wow. Well, he gets a high roll on the Sludge Belcher, which is nice. I don't presume that Lothar will want to take any of the minions here on board. But he does have another way to clear some of these minions. Wow. Wild Pyromancer.
I'm curious if Wild Pyromancer is what he wants to do. I mean, he definitely can take out the board this way.
Yeah.
He just rock biters himself. Yep. And again, can continue to wait. Mind Control gives him so much comfort in this matchup. There's almost nothing he's worried about at this point. What if Lothar had stolen Doomhammer and then StrifeCro Harrisoned it back? You think that's a way to win?
Wow. I didn't even think about that possibility.
I think Doomhammer's going to come down here, but that's probably going to seal the deal afterwards.
Hold on. I mean, what if Lothar's at like 4 remaining cards? But you're right. In this scenario, just way too much.
Like, yeah, I don't know if that's a bad thing.
All right, and he's even holding few enough cards where he's not overdrawing.
Yeah,
this is just too perfect. Oh man,
here we go. That belongs in a museum. He's got more than Sludge Belcher too. Watch this hand fill up. My goodness, I have been on the receiving end of that, and it feels insurmountable. And look at that hand. It basically is. StrifeCro, very few ways to deal with this in the deck.
fact, if he plays Alec here, does he just die?
He's still overloaded too, so he doesn't even have access to everything he wants to do. Yeah.
Man, that is really unfortunate.
He's fighting back as hard as he can, but at this point, it just doesn't matter. The priest just has too many cards. And Sylvanas, just in case.
Yep. All right. So, knowing Lothar, he'd probably play super safe again. I wonder how safe he feels like he needs to play. Like, does he Shadow Word Death and then
attack, I mean, he could probably just kill his own minion at this point and still win the game.
Sure.
He's got so much stuff. Mind Control, I think, is totally reasonable. Just start pressuring your opponent. You got lethal next turn if your opponent can't deal with this board position. So, Alec here, not even going to keep him safe, I don't think.
Nope. Because he's got ways to kill off Alec here.
Yep.
And StrifeCro doesn't even have a Rock Biter, so that way he can get 2 for 1 value off the card.
Trying to roll Spell Power. Not going to do it. I don't know, maybe he's trying to roll Taunt.
So that should do it then, right? StrifeCro can't survive anymore with that totem roll? You can't even...
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, he could kill the 6/5, I guess, but... Even still, he's effectively dead.
How does he kill the 6/5 from this position? Oh, I guess he's
he can just jam the Alec and do it twice.
Yeah, right. Oh, I guess there is a way to survive then. But you're surviving and you're not living.
Yeah, this is just delaying the inevitable. I'd love to find the excitement in this matchup, but it's already happened. Lothar's drawn infinity cards. He's dealt infinity damage, and he's killed everything that StrifeCro has played. Turn 14, healing totem go is not my idea of a winning game.
Ugh. You can't even kill him still, though. That's like the unfortunate side effect of what just happened.
Well, this is priest. I mean, they got to heal you to death, so it's a pretty slow death.
If Lothar just starts healing StrifeCro, I think the internet will explode.
I think Forsen would start healing him.
That's true. Well.
Maybe? No, not at all.
I think so. Well, hold on.
Power.
Yeah, you can kill out the Sludge Belcher body.
Lothar's even got a copy of Silence in his hand.
That's right.
Yeah, that's going to do it.
Yes.
Game 3 is going to head over to Lothar. Unless for some reason he wants to extend this game and just have the ultimate BM on his opponent.
That's going to mean the end of the series.
Yep.
Just has to silence. Oh, well, okay. He's got plenty of ways to end this now.
Just in case.
Wow. Should he take his opponent's Unbound Elemental? I think so. Oh, come on, Lothar.
Gentleman Lothar ending the series just like he should, and that's going to do it, utilizing the ability to swap classes as the winner. Wow, that is a big advantage that players can get when they have as strong as a lineup as Lothar does. After seeing these decks, I think there's a pretty good chance that Lothar is a favorite to take this tournament. I think his decks are very well prepared for this tournament.
Yeah, well done. And he told me that he was really intending to win this one. And you know what? He came out swinging.